and be completely honest with yourself. The reason you're watching this video is probably because you don't seriously care about the merits of the arguments I've had. You're probably watching this because you like drama, whether it's because you hate the online left and you enjoy watching someone criticize them, or because you're a political streamer that's been following the drama I've been involved in and you know you can get more views out of your audience. That's probably why you're watching.
Blair White, hold my estradiol. Riley. I could never hate you. Let's enter the Thunderdome. There she is. Okay, it's called Political Hobbyism and Online Politics. Ooh. It's wow, I can't believe she added ooh to the title. Thought she was against anime.
Hi. What you're about to watch is a video on political hobbyism and online politics. What you may not realize is that this is actually the second...
It's an aesthetic torture chamber. I mean, and they love it too. They love me for it. Seriously. Okay, I know that everybody thinks that everybody hates NCC because they do hate streams on me and stuff like that. Like, that's what everybody thinks. They think that everybody hates me and stuff. They don't. They don't. If they hate me at all, it's thirst hate, which is not the same as regular hate. It's a different flavor of hate. A more thirsty form of hate, right? And most of them don't even hate me, right? They just, like, they love me. They just can't admit it, right? They just...
time I'm recording this intro.
But god damn, her sound is low. And this is coming from nocommentchick, whose sound is famous. Is my sound? No, my sound's not low now. I've actually got my mic turned up for once, right? Not to Haas levels, but to Irene levels.
When I showed this video to members of my community to get feedback, they told me that it would be worthwhile to clarify some things for the audience ahead of time. Because while this video extensively explores the problem of political hobbyism, it's also a video about my experiences this past year trying to figure out how to advocate for evidence-based policy on social media. For context, I'm a dual JD Masters of Public Policy student. A couple of years ago, I started posting videos on social media and streaming where I would talk about a variety of political and public policy issues. I started streaming and making content for the same reason that I started my graduate education, because I just genuinely care about good public policy and I wanted to talk to people who shared that interest. I don't know what the stereotype is for law students, but law school itself tends to be a very emotionally and mentally oppressive experience. While there are certainly some classmates that I've gotten close to, a lot of people in my 1L class were mainly focused on getting good grades for employment opportunities in their 1L summer. And to my credit, I've done pretty well for myself. My 1L summer, I was able to clerk for the Maryland Attorney General's office doing research on police reform policy. And this past year, I was able to work in state and federal Congress. Unfortunately, as anyone who works in the legal profession can tell you, this kind of work can take its toll on you if you're not careful. This is especially true if you come from any kind of marginalized background. Not only were there not a lot of people who shared my passion for public policy in my class, but I also often found myself alone on account of being a transgender woman. So I thought that I could use social media as a place where I could find like-minded people who shared my interest in furthering good progressive policy. Over the past 2 years,
Evidence-based policy, yeah.
I've spent basically all of my spare time, aside from work and school, trying to figure out how to use social media to meet other people who I could talk to about how to further good public policy. And while that may sound like the nerdiest thing to do with your spare time, I'm saying this now because what I didn't account for going in is that most other people in this space don't share that same interest. While this video is about political hobbyism in particular, it's also admittedly a video about
Meow, hi Kermit.
my broader experiences with the online left and my efforts to try and carve out a space.
Okay, is anybody else tired of hearing the online left? Now, I always meme about this, but I'm not sure if people get my memes, right? Because it's like so universal. It's like, oh God, if you're a leftist, you hate the online left. If you're a right-winger, you hate the online left. Everybody fucking hates the online left. And it's like, you get this feeling that it feels like, at a certain point, it feels like I get off my lawn. Doesn't it? Like the TikTok left, the Zoomer, like, is that what they're saying? Is they're saying Zoomers when they say the online left? Is that what they're really saying? No, actually, it depends on who you ask, right? It really does depend on who you ask. They all have a different meaning for it. You are the online left.
For policy discussion on social media. For the majority,
It's like, here's the deal, chat. Socialism is like being a Hamon user in JoJo Part 1. Okay? It makes you not age as fast. Or you do all your aging when you're young, like Bernie Sanders, and then you never age again, like Bernie Sanders. He looks exactly the same now as he did when he was 50, and he probably looked the same when he was 45, right?
of this video, I'm going to be mainly focusing on
He was just born an old dude. He was just an old dude from birth.
my experiences with political hobbyists in the online left. I want to be clear that this is not because
We could do something about the online left, and we could rest in peace.
the problems I talk about are not as present in the online right.
Actually, I think it's technically a soy jack, but I listened to it and like, wow, you're upset. Other leftists are not as rigorous about proving their convictions. Oh my god, she tries to like, I feel like she over applies these notions, right? Because like, I mean, if you insist on evidence-based everything, I studied medicine, right? And you know, obviously, you want to practice medicine in an evidence-based way. That's a buzzword. That's a catchphrase, right? But at the same time, there are things that are clinically practiced that are not evidence-based because we don't have evidence on everything that we'd like to have evidence on, right? And sometimes, you know, the standard of care comes from the practice of practicing medicine, not from like we did a study and it implies that like this is better than this. It's just, you know, and obviously you still want data on that, and obviously, you know, more knowledge is better, right? And in a perfect world, yeah, we'd have all the evidence and we'd be like, okay, this is, you know, what you need to do, right? But it's not very practical, right? So yeah, that's the thing. If you get stuck on this like fetish that she seems to have for, and you know, granted, I'm not saying fuck science, I'm not saying fuck evidence, I'm not even saying fuck receipts, chat, but I do feel like sometimes these are considered a good in and of themselves, and people don't look at the fact that there are different strengths of evidence, there are different levels of evidence, and you know, you don't always have that randomized controlled trial that you want.
in the online left.
The online left.
I think that the problems in this video are just as common in the online right.
The online right.
And I'm going to be criticizing them.
I've never heard anyone say that, Riley. I've never heard anyone say the online right. Is that even a thing? Wait, who's the online right? Ben Shapiro? Lots of people define evidence in a hell of a lot of different ways. Western evidence is usually bullshit meant to prop up power structures.
Specifically at certain points. I'm just limiting the scope of this video to my experience because that's what I'm able to discuss fast.
My experience with the online left, A Twit Longer by Riley Grace Roshong.
While I don't think I'll be able to move a lot of the people that I criticize, I think that it's important to make this video for the people who have had similar experiences to mine. Now, with that being said, I know that there are also going to be a lot of people who watch because they're interested in drama that I've been involved in. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten about you. I'm actually going to be talking a lot about people who are here for the drama, but for people who are looking for that specifically, I'm letting you know now that a lot of this video is admittedly a bit dry and probably not as exciting as you might like. I decided to throw my education at this project, so this video gets pretty deep into a lot of different literature. I'll also admit that this project did not spark joy for me.
Oh no.
The emotional labor that I put into this video is about the best that I could do. If you're planning on skipping to the end of the video or leaving an angry comment down below, I see you, I know who you are, and I would at least ask that you watch through to the end of the video. While this video is not—
Chat, she's on so much spice melange that she's become prescient. It's prescient Riley Grace Roshong. How am I ever going to defeat this version of Riley? It's like she transformed into another form.
For you, and I'll explain more about that later. Maybe you'll end up learning something. So, since there are probably going to be a lot of eyes on this video, let me start off by sharing some of the general things that I've been thinking through about it. Normally, I'm someone who's pretty active in political discussions on social media, but over the past month, I have not been active publicly.
She kind of put the video out at a weird time. I don't know. It doesn't really, supposedly it doesn't matter when you put the video out, but like, it's just like, it was like probably 9 o'clock Eastern time.
Whatsoever.
It's so weird. Most people put their videos out in the morning or midday.
There are several reasons why, and we'll talk about some of those later on. But one of them is that I've been taking a lot of time thinking about what this video is trying to do and who it's for. Originally, I was going to make a video going through the recent debates I've been involved in extensively and focus on talking through the particular merits of the conversations and try to prove my case to the leftists who have been heavily criticizing me over this past year.
Heavily.
And possibly even reflecting and
Heavily.
moving on some of the positions I expressed. Then I realized that there's two problems with this approach. The first is the fact that I know that these people don't care about the merits of the conversations that happened. If that sounds like a heavy
online
claim,
left.
let me use a relevant example to explain why I think that is. Earlier this year, the event that started off all the drama I've been involved with in the online left was a debate with the leftist streamer.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, DemonMama is where she's gonna start. And honestly, like, I knew Riley before then. I had Riley on Bird Brains. She was fine. The way that I saw it in chat, this is gonna, like, I mean, I'm not trying to dogpile, because I'm sure there's gonna be a dogpile, and I try not to jump in on those, because I know what it feels like underneath. But like, I'm the one who made the video that was stitched together with, because like the debate was Riley, you know, debating DemonMama, and neither of them put each other on screen. So you couldn't watch the debate and see both of them at the same time. And I kind of wanted to do that, because like you had DemonMama saying that, you know, she felt like Riley was setting this up to be drama. You had Riley saying that it was DemonMama setting it up to be drama, and I kind of wanted to know. I wanted to do a debate analysis, but part of that debate analysis is like saying, you know, did somebody try to make this drama? And after watching it, it really looked like Riley was pushing this into drama, right? Maybe she was just mad. Maybe she wasn't really trying to do it, but yeah, I mean, it definitely wasn't DemonMama that was like trying to make her mad, and that's kind of what Riley and Destiny claimed, right? So this is when Riley started hitting my guts, right? Because I you know, I just kind of wanted to know what went on, and I put that together, and I mean, it showed something that, you know, she didn't want to have seen.
Or DemonMama on the metaphysics of gender. Originally, the conversation started out pretty light until I expressed that I believe that gender involves more than just saying that you are that gender. This is why I would say that closeted trans people are still trans and that Steven Crowder isn't a woman when he pretends to be one. I thought that was going to be obvious, especially since I had made the same argument about a month prior when I was debating a TERF on stream and nobody in my community raised any issue at that point. But oh, was I wrong? Not only did she disagree, but we ended up having a 2-hour agonizing debate that's still up on the homepage of my channel for people who want to watch it themselves. But the relevant information for this discussion comes...
But if you want to watch it with both sides, then you got to watch it on my channel, and it's the blue version of the video. There's also a green version of the video. The green version is my commentary in cosplay as Jolene Cujo. Yeah, which is, you know, topical again.
From the end of our debate. After 2 hours, DemonMama said that I was only making my arguments because I was trying to justify my existence as a trans woman. That is not a sufficient rebuttal, all right?
That is not what I said. I provided an argument for why it's not.
Yes, and you gave a bad argument.
Regress.
You gave, oh, well, if you just identify as a Seahawk, that makes you a Seahawk fan.
I've really had enough of having this conversation with you, Riley, because listen, what it sounds like to me is that you were really like, and this is my conclusion and my takeaway from this. I feel like you feel the need to justify your existence as a trans person without and you want to have a 100% definite objective truth, when in reality we're dealing with social constructs and linguistic limitations.
Now, let's be clear. This is pretty fucking transphobic. This wasn't addressing anything that I was saying. It was a personal attack, and it was a personal attack that would only affect me if I were a trans person. That's about as clear as it gets. This is pretty significant because DemonMama is one of the leftist.
Did she just call DemonMama transphobic?
Criticisms of transphobia against.
Look, I got my problems with DemonMama, but they do not include
this kind of comment to her or someone that she likes. She would absolutely call it transphobic, and she knows that. Because when I started raising the fact that
can we go through the logic again? Okay, so she said it feels like you have to justify yourself as a trans person, right? That's what DemonMama said, and Riley says that's transphobic because it's something that you could say that would only affect a trans woman, or a trans person, right? Okay. like, so by Riley's logic, if like a black person tells another black person that they are, you know, justifying themselves to like the structure of white supremacy, right? By Riley's logic, that's a racism, right? It's just like, or any comment that like would only affect, yeah, I'm trying to think how far this could go. How absurd that could this get, chat? Because when debate bros go off on each other, that is what they do. They contrive hypotheticals and they test each other's positions within the confines of those hypotheticals. And if they can find anything that they can say, well, your, you know, view of this justifies Hitler, then they will. That's an absolute debate bro classic, you know. Well, like, isn't what you're saying just like, you know, Hitler basically? And I mean, you know, maybe it is with some of the debate bros around the Twitch politics scene. Maybe it's a little bit like Hitler, right? Maybe, I don't know, Chad, I'm just saying. Is your brain on NF Steven? Yeah, that's true.
Didn't come under any scrutiny from people close to her or in her community for saying this to me. She never argued that it wasn't.
Oh my god, this is transphobic. This was transphobic for DemonMama to say that, like, you shouldn't have to justify yourself to cis heteronormative, cis normativity.
Transphobic. Instead, she told her community that she never said it in the initial conversation at all. Honestly, compared to a lot of other internet drama, that would be more than enough evidence for a pretty clear case that this person did a transphobia and tried to cover it up. But oh, it gets so much worse. Because
listen, Riley, everybody just wants you to cover the NCC thing. We need your take on clan ops. Listen, I know that stuff was supposed to be over when they figured out there was like nothing there, that it was a non-story, that it was a nothing burger. I know that was supposed to be over and shit, but Riley, you never took a swing at that, and there was an NCC drama that you were for once not involved in. Even Samantha Banana got in on that one, apparently had a war room against me, right?
while she was streaming about this, I actually got wind that she was lying to her stream about what happened. So I clipped the relevant part of the stream where she said I was only making arguments about gender in order to justify my—
Samantha Banana comes out of retirement after saying that she wouldn't do the politics thing anymore after the, Dylan Burns Prime Kai thing. She comes out of retirement just to start a war room against me.
My existence as a trans woman, uploaded it to Twitter, and linked the clip in her stream chat to show her audience exactly what—
And now we see exactly where this bullshit came from.
You think that she just clicked on the link and showed her audience the 30-second clip directly incriminating herself? Or do you think that she did absolutely everything in her power to keep me from showing it? When I started linking the clip in her chat, she said over and over that she had already shown the clip to her chat when she hadn't, and then, instead of showing the clip I was linking, she decided to show an unrelated clip of me just crying. This wasn't relevant to the conversation. She didn't use it to try and prove any point. She was just trying to bully me and posture for her audience. And they all bought it! Again, while I was linking the clip, very clearly showed—
Okay, the clip of her crying. Yeah, I remember this. This kind of made me sad, right? Because, like, I don't like to show people at their worst. Like, I don't— if you notice my thumbnails, right, there are people like Riley that I very much do not like, or that have done horrible things to me, right? You know, that I have every reason to hate. And you're never going to see them with, like, an ugly thumbnail picture, right? I don't do that. Okay, I don't search out for, like, the weirdest, fucking ugliest, like, craziest looking, picture of you out there and put you on a thumbnail like that. Because I'm, like, especially with trans women, I'm, like, really not trying to, reinforce, like, all the body shame and that gets put on us, right?
Showing that she was lying to her audience. Not only did she not show it to her chat, but nobody in her chat tried to push back against her at all. The entire time her chat was mocking me. Well, they continued to—
I mean, yeah, DemonMama's chat's a little bit mean sometimes. Like, I like a lot of those people. There are imps that are really cool, don't get me wrong, okay? But I just, like, even with the Cherry thing, right? I covered when, like, Cherry was going after me and then DemonMama raided into her, and because it ended up being about the Riley, that debate, Cherry and DemonMama went at it, right? And so I was like, oh, this is cool. The two people that hate my guts, they're going at each other. Let's cover this, right? By the end of it, I actually felt bad for Cherry because DemonMama was just absolutely brutal with her, right? And granted, you know, yeah, I mean, like, I guess I agree with DemonMama on that trauma, but holy shit, girl, that, like...
believe her lies, despite the fact I was presenting...
And same thing with the Riley thing. Like, you know, Cherry's great, but oh my God, that is harsh to show that video. And DemonMama was really, really into showing the, I don't remember. She's like enjoyed this too much. I don't know, chat. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not standing Riley. DemonMama was right, but oh my God, DemonMama, like,
clear evidence proving what happened. And then
she's a little bit of a super meanie butt.
Invited me to come on the stream.
Super meanie
when I
butt.
tried to show the clip of her saying that I was just trying to justify my existence as a trans woman, she deafened me for her chat so they couldn't hear it. And then said I could only talk to her if I paid her
$200. $300. Oh,
apparently we have set the precedent that it is completely fine to lie about someone and then charge them $300 in order to prove that you are lying about them. Let's be clear. There's absolutely zero plausible deniability here. She hit the clip when it came up. She
that was
knew
good.
that what she said was transphobic. She knew if she showed the clip to her audience that it would prove that she was lying. And she knew that she had to do everything she could to keep me from showing it. And despite all of this evidence, she never came under any scrutiny or criticism from her community over this. You could present these people with the clearest possible evidence showing that you're right, and they will still do everything they can to even possibly admitting that they were in the wrong. Now, this is not an isolated event.
Wait, Riley, have you ever apologized for trying to insinuate that I endorse blackface? Like, you don't... Oh, God, she just doesn't live by her own rules, right? Yeah, you're right. It was a joke. It was a joke. It was a very old joke. It came from Haas debate with Vosh, where Vosh, supposedly somebody from the Haas community paid Vosh $200 to debate Vosh, and, you know, they took it and they debated Vosh, and the rest was history. Yeah, I mean, honestly, kind of a bad debate to take, Vosh, honestly. Like, you know, if you hadn't taken that debate, and I never covered that debate, I guess I'm not guiltless in this either, in the rise of infrared, right? Oh, who is now banned, so, for a few more days. Yeah, she was not being serious. Well, yeah, Riley was not going to get a debate. That when you do that, you're basically saying you don't want to debate the person. That's what I said to Haas, right? When he wanted to debate me, I said, you know, $200 and dye your hair blue, right? It's a poison pill. Oh my God, some infrared stand's gonna clip me. Said like, see, I knew it. She didn't really want to debate. No, because your dude is a Nazbol. That's why I don't want to debate your dude. I don't debate Nazis. I don't debate Nazbols.
The reason I chose it is for illustrative purposes because of how clear it is. This is behavior that people in the chronically online left engage in all the time. I used to think that if I just showed these people proof that vindicated me, that it would be able to sway them and make them stop
top tier. I'm not having your bullshit trolling.
Antagonizing me. They don't care about the truth. And I'm not going to make the mistake of thinking that they do again. So why do they act this way? Well, put a pin in that. We're going to be coming back to that later. So after I decided that I wasn't going to be making this video for the...
Yeah, I mean, maybe DemonMama would have taken the money. Maybe I would have taken the money. What if somebody dropped $200 in my lap? Would I have taken the money to debate Haas?
People who have been antagonizing me. I also considered making the same video going through the recent debates I've been in, but more so for the audience of people who are more aligned with...
Chronically online left. That's a Tim Pool quote. Tim Pool came up with the online left.
My views, but still disagreed with the merits of my arguments. But this leads to the second problem I alluded to from earlier. I spent a lot of this past month thinking about how I engage online and how this contributes to my overall career goals. And I am concerned that responding to this kind of behavior, focusing on the merits of the conversation, ends up setting a precedent to spend massive amounts of time researching arguments, ultimately have nothing to do with what I'm trying to accomplish in my career. The reason I'm pursuing a dual JD Master's in Public Policy degree, I've worked in Congress and learned how to actually affect legislation, is because my primary career goal is defending and advancing the best and most evidence-based LGBT plus policy possible in the United States. And that's it. Over this entire year, I have been dragged away from...
There was an issue in the debate, too. She got hung up on this idea that, like, there was some study about brain scans that suggested that, like, maybe there was, like, a different you know, brain function, the brain function of trans women was similar to that of cis women, and that was like the proof of like, oh yeah, so like to find out who's trans, we just scan people's brains, and whose ever brain scans as trans, you know, you can transition, and if it's not, then sorry, you're a trans anyway. Like, I mean, that's not, Riley never said that part, right? But because she makes these arguments, it really kind of, you know, leads to people questioning her on that, right? And that is the big thing. That is the big thing. And like the whole thing about this stuff is like, you're not allowed to call, like, DemonMama got in trouble for implying that Scrub King was making talking points that were something silly, right? They were silly in an in kind of way. If that, I don't know if we're gonna say this on Twitch, right? You know, DemonMama got in trouble for, you get in trouble for like calling out racism unless you got a picture of the person in a KKK outfit burning a cross, right? And even then you're like, but maybe they went and put out the cross later, you know what I mean? You gotta like have so much proof of like, oh no, they absolutely meant to do that. They did not accidentally grab the wrong set of sheets out of the dryer and accidentally put on a KKK outfit. That's definitely them in a KKK outfit. Here they are showing their KKK membership card, and like okay, you know, okay, I guess that person's racist, right? Maybe. And if it's CTV, probably they'll like, oh, cut him a break. He's from the South. Come on. I have nothing on CTV being a KKK member in my clan ops. Okay, that's not in those files yet. But we do have to do research. We do have to gather more information. CTV. So expect us, I guess. Right? We are clan ops. We are Legion.
Doing that by drama, which I'll be the first to say it, I was baited into by people who only care about these subjects as a hobby or a weapon to use against people who aren't on their same ideological team. Recently, I've been reading Politics is for Power by Eaton Hirsch. I'm actually going to be covering this book a lot more, details on that later in the video.
Invertebrate cells, yes. That's science. It's scientific. It's evidence-based, Twitch. It's evidence-based.
One of the main points from the book is talking about and critiquing the problem of political hobbyism. He talks about how most people who are involved in the kind of constant media consumption like what we experience online, people who are constantly listening to debates or following their favorite parasocial political content creator, tend to
or your favorite parasocial daddy. I got that one started. You're welcome, Vivian. You can have that.
Not only be privileged and masculine, but also tend to view politics as something fun where they can root for people effectively mascotting their social group and battling others for political blood sports, where the truth about the matter people discuss is only secondary to the actual conflict between the public figures. To the political hobbyist, news is a form of entertainment and needs to be fun. In the past, local news, even when not itself fun.
So she's kind of like criticizing DemonMama's edutainment format, right?
Is bundled with sports and weather and national.
She's like, that's DemonMama.
News broadcasts.
That's why she brought up the Seahawks.
We ended up learning about local politics accidentally.
Are you a real Seahawks fan? Can you prove that you're a Seahawks fan?
Now that all these separate items have been decoupled, our lack of interest.
How do I know you don't just like the Seahawks shirts?
We have collectively shown that what's fun is the scandal in Washington that seems big today and will be replaced by another drama tomorrow. That's what keeps us coming back to cable news anchors and keeps training our newsfeed. In part, what's changed is that Americans have started to treat political parties as they treat sports teams. When I identify as a Red Sox fan, it reflects a connection that I have to people who live in my area of the country. Yankees fans feel some geographic camaraderie around their team too. While I would not think or say... The thing is, most people could get away with that joke. Most trans people could get away with that joke. But when you have people accusing you of being a trans med, that's like, yeah, maybe you want to stay out of, like, you know... that New Yorkers suck. Somehow quite easy for me to say that Yankees suck. I'm sure that's not what Riley means. I decided to rally behind my team. I focus on the team identity rather than any underlying reasons for why I chose that team in the first place. Increasingly, Americans look around at their social groups, their racial and religious groups, and they see an alignment between those groups and the political party. Their party identity. Is she like flexing the fact that this is like... She's like, I own this book, I read this book, and I look at, like, she like underlined like everything. Is that what she does? She reads the book and she's like underlines it to show everybody like, I fucking read this shit. Like, I got... in turn helps them feel grounded and
Every sentence when she's like, oh yes, oh yes, oh so good, yes, true. That's her true. Wait, you don't snap. Why am I combining beatnik aesthetics with debate bro aesthetics? I don't know, chat. Can I be a beatnik debate bro?
connected to their groups, and it gives them something to rally around. They will say things and feel things about their team and its rival they would not otherwise say or feel about the.
I mean, there's some truth to this. Like, I mean, I don't know where she got this, but yeah, like definitely Americans do have this mentality. There are a lot of people that really do. I mean, like that's why there's all this like we fucking the Democratic tears after Trump gets elected. You know, like yeah, there is like a sports team element to this. There's like a tribal element, and there's probably a lot of people who don't really know politics, and yet they are political. They don't know fuck all about anything. They don't know what Donald Trump's policy is, but they're like, oh no, Trump train 2020. You know, they're. Like most libs, she's the only one who realized the left are more dangerous than the right. I know, right? That's an important pill. What is that pill going to be called? Is that the destiny pill? It's the D pill. What do you call that pill? What do we call that pill? We gotta find a name for that pill. When you discover that the left are actually the dangerous ones and the right are totally harmless.
Group.
What is that pill called?
Surveys, they will offer responses to showcase their loyalty to their party. People who are otherwise intelligent will even suspend their commitment.
Beatnik debate bro sounds super cursed.
To the truth for the sake of the team. Consider a moment from 2017, which made headlines at the time. President Trump's first press secretary, Sean Spicer, told the media that Trump's inauguration crowd was the biggest in history. Side-by-side photos comparing the attendees at Trump's inauguration with President Obama's inauguration showed Trump's crowd to be a fraction of the size of Obama's. Researchers showed the side-by-side pictures to a random sample of Americans and asked them a simple, factual question. Which of these pictures shows more people? 2% of Clinton voters got the factual answer wrong. 8 times as many Trump supporters, or 15%, got it wrong. Among Trump supporters, the ones with the highest education levels got it wrong the most often. It's not that these people couldn't grasp the truth, it's that they gave the answer that gratified them regardless of the facts. The educated ones, who were more likely to be informed about Spicer's claims, knew what answer to give to cheer for their side.
Wait, why is...
The plainer way of saying this is that the vast majority of political hobbyists...
Why was DemonMama's... What? Why was DemonMama's thumbnail coming at us?
Don't primarily care about the truth.
Wait, so just like you're like saying she's just like a MAGA. DemonMama's just like a MAGA. Is that what she's saying? Yeah.
At all. In fact, if the truth is inconvenient, people will disregard it entirely. What people care about is team blood sports and drama. That's it. It's just that the only person who's honest about it is Dylan Burns. Now, maybe this is self-evident to a lot of people. This was weird for me to come to terms with.
Yeah, that's true. Dylan is the only honest man on Twitch. He's an honest and trustworthy person who would never, ever try to eliminate the competition. Dylan Burns is an upstanding citizen who should definitely be trusted with political office. Then nothing bad will come of that. Most certainly. Nothing bad ever could.
Because the reason I have talked about politics from day one on social media, because I just care about figuring out what the best policy is for society and how we can implement it. That's it.
Just so you know, they're friends. They're friends. And they actually did a hate stream on me together. That's how good of friends they are. She brought Dylan on to talk shit about nocommentchick, and it's the
reason I'm getting a degree in public policy. It's the reason I've worked in public policy. And it's the reason that even after all of that, I spend my spare time talking about public policy on social media. But it's pretty clear that this is not why most people get involved with online politics. If I had to guess, and be completely honest with yourself, the reason you're watching this video is probably because you don't seriously care about the merits of the arguments I've had. You're probably watching this because you like drama, whether it's because you hate the online left and you enjoy watching someone criticize them, or because you're a political streamer that's been following the drama I've been involved in and you know you can get more views out of your audience. That's probably why you're watching. And while I
Wait.
cannot stop you from watching this
Do you not hate the online left? I thought it's cool to hate the online left.
video, I can say that this video is not for
Are we supposed to hate the online
I'm
left?
not going to waste any more time that I could be using to research and further good progressive policy.
She does a lot of research and does a lot of good policy.
ContraPoints has already made videos like canceling and envy, criticizing a lot of the behavior that I'm talking about.
Yes, dude,
Destiny
almost
has made
trying
a
to
cornerstone
cancel
of his
you.
career in the past couple of years, calling out the same kinds of behavior. And despite all
And
of their
doing
effort
it.
and prominence,
Destiny's the biggest fucking cancel daddy out there. Besides, I don't know, is Destiny the biggest cancel daddy? Who's the biggest cancel daddy?
neither of them have been able to reform the people who are most culpable for the kind of behavior that I'm criticizing. I say reform because I don't hate any of the people that I'm criticizing. Problem with a lot of the criticisms
I only hate no comment.
people make against the online left is that they tend to come from conservatives who, while they are able to sometimes recognize
That's not
relative
true.
issues within our movement,
It's not true, chat. We hate each other better than we hate the conservatives hate us. A degree in public policy sounds like the worst credential to have. I'm sure an accredited university will definitely teach how to change the status quo for the better.
are usually bad faith actors who are mainly interested in
Bad
causing us
faith
harm
actors
and
like
just happen to be the
NCC.
broken clock that tells the
Faith
right time twice a
actors
day.
like
For me,
NCC.
I genuinely hope that someday people
Blackface
who
enjoyers
engage in the
like
behavior I'm criticizing in
NCC.
this video can grow and change for the better. I just don't see that as happening anytime soon. And that's what I'm more interested in exploring. Why is it that there are people in the online left who, no matter what you say or how you say it, seem to never change their minds? As a primary example, how could someone like DemonMama say something so clearly transphobic to me?
Okay,
and
so
never
chat, we're gonna talk about boundaries at some point because it's become important for me as somebody who grew up without boundaries, grew up with parents that would just like key into my room when I'm a teenager and obviously masturbating. It's like, Mom, Dad, I'm trying to masturbate. Get the out of my room. Like, no, we have no boundaries. Okay, great. I guess I'll have no boundaries either, and everybody will walk all over my boundaries for all my life because I weird champ parents who want to come in room while I'm masturbating. What the fuck? Like, anyway, chat, that's just my problem, not yours. You don't have to worry about my weird boundary issues, but at least I'm aware of them. And here's where the thing is, okay? Riley doesn't respect DemonMama's boundaries in that DemonMama like doesn't agree with you, right? And you kind of think that if you make this argument and you're convinced that it's a good argument and you're convinced that there's no issues with it, that she's supposed to agree with you. And Riley, no, she's got autonomy. And even if it makes sense to you, if it doesn't make sense to her, she doesn't fucking have to agree with you. You have this weird entitlement to her fucking opinion. And this is so peak debate lord of you. This is so fucking endemic of that like accursed 3-letter community that you have hung out in up until, I don't know, does she still hang out there? I don't know, maybe she doesn't hang out there anymore. Like I feel like she even like kind of yikes Destiny. Like Destiny was like, whoa, Riley, oh geez, during the dough thing, Destiny was like, oh, Riley,
come under any degree of scrutiny from people more aligned with her. Perhaps you think I'm focusing on this example too much.
That NFTC smile turned into a grimace.
And I'll talk about other examples later on. But this one is particularly interesting to me because not only is it the most clear-cut example of her blatantly lying to her audience and getting away with it.
Riley, why don't you just watch the NFT ape, the Red Ape family? Like, you should just, like, this sucks, Riley. This sucks. I would much rather be watching you react to the Red Ape family.
Also because this is about her engaging in clearly transphobic behavior.
She's so transphobic. That's the one thing that, yeah.
The online left
Listen.
often levies against people are criticism.
Wait, if she thinks that DemonMama was transphobic for saying that she shouldn't have to justify her existence to, like, cis people, right? Then what does she think about me saying that DemonMama let the trans community down by not standing up to Dylan Burns on the issue of platforming transphobic gish gallop from the likes of Rob Noor, right? I think she'd think that I'm like who is transphobic against the transphobes that are transphobic against Riley Grace Roshong? Apparently the sussy baka right here. apparently the sussy baka right here.
Of transphobia, even against other left-leaning figures like ContraPoints or Destiny. And yet,
Blair White, hold my estradiol. Gammy, hold my progesterone.
Whenever they do, the allegations they levy are weak at best and completely fabricated at worst.
And coming through.
Why does the online left tend to levy certain criticisms against people without merit, and yet completely ignore when people they like engage in the exact kinds of behavior that they criticize? This is a question.
Wait, what? All apes are gone? And what's the constellation?
I can justify making a video on, because the answer can have very real implications about how people who actually care about policy should engage with social media. If you are someone who genuinely cares about policy
just want to dance,
and wants
Riley.
to understand why these problems exist
Just
in the
want to
online
dance.
left and how to
Mommy.
avoid them, then this video is for you. Now, to be clear, this is not saying that everyone in the online left engages in this behavior. There are a lot of content creators in this space who do a good job of being consistent with their beliefs and actually holding people accountable. You could say that this video is talking more about the chronically online left if you want to be more specific, but I also believe that these kinds of
Is she calling DemonMama out for her long streams?
behaviors seem to be too broad to just write off as a couple outliers in the movement. I'll talk more about why I think
I have no room to talk. I have no room to talk.
That had been published this past month in Nature on polarization and online politics called Quantifying Social Organization and Political Polarization in Online Platforms by Isaac Walter and Ashton Anderson. The study used an algorithm to analyze 5.1 billion comments made in over 10,000 communities over 14 years on Reddit surrounding the 2016 election. The researchers measured how the macro-scale community structure of these communities is organized with respect to age, gender, and U.S. political partisanship. The fact that the authors got this published in Nature says a lot about its credibility, since it's one of the most scrutinous academic journals generally, and it's even more difficult to get papers published there on the social sciences. One of the main things that the researchers were interested in exploring was the nature of social media and how it makes it easier than ever for people to self-select into echo chambers of like-minded people. This is how the paper begins. In 1962, Marshall McLuhan proclaimed that the new electronic interdependence recreates the world in the image of a global village. In the decades since, there has been a fierce debate about the internet's dual forces of social integration, as the world becomes increasingly interconnected, and social fragmentation, as people can more easily select to join like-minded communities. 20 years into the widespread adoption of online social media platforms, it remains unclear how online communities are socially organized. Of particular concern is whether online populations increasingly sort into homogeneous echo chambers and whether social media platforms tend to shift users towards ideological extremes. However, since these platforms consist of massive amounts of unstructured and synonymous data, empirically quantifying the social makeup of online communities and, in turn, the social organization of online platforms poses a unique challenge. So, using their methodology, the researchers tested for whether people tend to self-select into like-minded political communities, whether this has polarizing effects on people's political views, and to what extent the online left and online right are polarized within themselves. And oh boy, does this paper have a lot to say. We applied our methodology to study individual and platform level political polarization over time. Political activity on Reddit spans the ideological spectrum.
Oh my god, Reddit is so cursed. Wait. Okay, so just a second, chat. Now, one thing I know about Reddit is it's kind of famous for being manipulatable. In other words, if you want to, and you plan this out, you can make a thread, and whatever kind of community, whatever, let's say that it's kind of like if you brigade a thread, right, at the right time, I think you can get it to pop. Like, it just will. It'll snowball, right? And so that, like, some of the big threads on Reddit aren't really big threads. They're just threads that have, like, some kind of starting power, right? That somebody that's sort of like, there's ways, I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I've heard that Reddit's like sort of infamous for getting like gamed, right? Like, he thought I was just trying to get on his show, and I really didn't want to come on his show because he would have yelled at me, right, for errors. Like, it would have been really bad, but I could have at least been like, hey, this is like, can we just stop the bullshit? Okay, like, I didn't say anything, Oh my god, chat. Live stream fails. Live stream fails. I don't know. Maybe it's not that interesting when a streamer trips over the green screen and almost falls over. But I think it's kind of interesting.
2% of activity taking place right of center, and 43% taking place in the center. Despite this
I
overall
find it
breadth,
interesting.
user activity is considerably more narrow, in line with the echo chamber hypothesis. The political
goddamn
activity
echo
contributed by
chamber.
community members is heavily skewed towards communities with similar partisan scores. For example, only 8% of political discussion occurs in the most left-wing communities. Among users who contribute to left-wing communities, an average of 44% of their activity takes place in left-wing communities. Similarly, only 16% of political discussion occurs in the most right-wing communities. Right-wing communities account for, on average, 62% of right-wing commenters' political activity. If users' distributions of activity were not skewed along partisan lines, these average percentages would be approximately equal to the overall platform partisan distribution. This pattern of selective partisan activity is also clearly apparent at the individual community level. Consistent with previous studies of political activity on social media, a static analysis of complete Reddit activity shows that users selectively participate in ideologically homogenous communities. So let's be clear here. For all that everyone criticizes other groups for isolating themselves off into echo chambers, literally everyone does this. Like, be completely honest with yourself. You choose what political communities you occupy online based on whoever will challenge your views of the world and make you think more critically about yourself and your own beliefs? No. If you're telling yourself this, you are almost certainly lying to yourself. Almost everyone who engages in online politics does this. If you happen to be one of the handfuls of people who doesn't, then I don't have to tell you that you are the outlier. The authors also compared this behavior to the political activity of people who engage in other kinds of subreddits.
God, really?
Just looking at the comparison on this graph makes it pretty apparent that it is truly impossible to be a centrist online. So I guess it's nice that like a goal? Confirm what J-Reg told us years ago. The reason this is relevant is because I think that generally speaking, there are three ways that disagreements can be resolved within communities. First, through one or more of the parties involved moving on their positions and coming to an agreement. Second, through one party leaving the community to find another one that affirms their disputed view. Or third, through one of the parties bullying the others out of the space. I'll give you a wild guess about which are the more popular options online. Normally, as we all grow up in society, we're taught that we ought respect differences in opinion and work on skills to be able to resolve disagreements.
Is lying to themselves.
For example, when discussing the foundations of a democratic society and their
Am I in the way, Riley?
Transition and consolidation, John Linz and Alfred Stefan talk about the importance of liberalization in consolidating democracies. Liberalization, compared with democratization, the normalization of certain values over time in a specific culture, and makes that culture
my God, she's just trying to hypnotize us.
Democratic mode of governance, most important of which being the toleration of perspectives
I'm pretty sure.
The reason why liberalization is important as a foundation for building a democracy is because if your culture fundamentally doesn't care about tolerating contrary perspectives, there's no real reason for people in that culture to want to adopt a democratic government. And if people don't want democracy, then it's just not going to happen. If you do not normalize the fundamental value of tolerating and resolving disagreements with different perspectives, you don't really care about the thing that makes democracy democracy. Now, I'm picking on the online left when I say that there are a lot of people in it who do not care about resolving disagreements with different perspectives. This is something that we can observe as a problem in all political communities, and especially the ones in the Waller and Anderson study. Big reason why liberalization is essential is because in order to actually build a state, it often requires some degree of managing how to exist along people that you're geographically.
Isn't it a little bit weird to just take Reddit and use that as like, okay, we can. So what she's doing is taking a study on one social media platform and extrapolating the results to the entirety of social media. It seems like not very evidence-based of an approach, Riley.
Close to, even if you're different from them in some respects. If you live in a certain community, it has historically been difficult for people to just move away from people with contrary opinions and closer to people who think alike. With recent advances in social media, this is no longer the case. Because now that users can find the communities of like-minded people easier than ever before on platforms like Twitter, Reddit, YouTube, and so on, people don't have the same incentives to develop the skills necessary to actually think through and resolve disagreements with others. And why would they? Actually interrogating what you think you know about the world is hard. For example, I set out this year to try and answer the question of what gender is, and now I'm reading through all the philosophical publications on gender metaphysics. You know what metaphysics are? I didn't learn about this shit in law school. I've had to seek out a lot of this on my own. In the course of seeking out this knowledge,
Do you
spent
know
more
what
than one night
metaphysics
staring into the
are? Oh
abyss
my
and making
God.
myself refuse to just lay
Hey,
down
Stumpy.
and rot. Now, to me, I can justify putting myself through that mental anguish because
She does mass blocks on Twitter communities instead of resolving and engaging. Good point, good point. Yeah, I was talking to somebody today that doesn't know anything about Riley or her drama. Yeah, I'm having a really good day. Yeah, doesn't know anything about Riley or her drama and ended up blocked. And yeah, there's like, and like, I mean, I sort of understand it. Like, I've had some pretty toxic people after me, right? You know, like famously Doobie came to Twitter just to yell at me, right? And was massively disappointed when I blocked him after he retread the same argument I had smacked down, like, already, right? I have an argument once. I do not have an argument more than once. And that's what he was trying to do, was like just loop. And I'm like, no, Doobie, I told you why that was bullshit. Now get the fuck out of my face. And he went on to start a stream. She blocked me. She blocked me. I can't believe she blocked me. I just wanted to yell at her, and she blocked me. And Stardust is like, you smacked her good, though. You smacked her good, Doobie. Doobie. Give me some clout, Doobie. Doobie. I brought you on here, and I need to give me some clout. Clout, Daddy. Come on for our social clout, Daddy. You gotta give me the clout. I need the clout, Doobie. Make it happen. Right? Oh my god, I turned on the wrong... Okay, that's not... I'm turning on the wrong video here. There we go. It's the Riley video.
Ultimately,
that's
thinking
the one
through
we
these
want.
issues and intellectually interrogating my beliefs will help me craft better public policy.
I need to put that video up.
For LGBT plus rights. But remember, most people do not get involved in politics online because they are interested in
I love that I have apparently made
involved
Doobie more angry than like anyone else. He came to Twitter just for me. Just for me.
Because they want to have fun.
Just to yell at me.
Not fun? Risking exposing yourself to an idea that changes your basic understanding of the world. Unless you're some kind of altruist or some kind of masochist, almost nobody is going to willingly subject
I feel like
themselves.
This is what's gross about like centrist liberal discourse. You get this feeling that they think that like, okay, so you got bookshelves, they're fucking symmetrical. When you go far to the left, you got problems, you got Stalin. When you go too far to the right, you got Hitler. The right place has got to be somewhere in the middle. But the Stalin people, they should really listen to the Hitler people. The Hitler people, they should listen to the Stalin people. Everything would be great if we could just get together and be like, you know, maybe we could have like a mix of the two. We could have them, we could take their DNA, we could create a baby. The baby grows up to be... I don't think that's a good idea. But, like, you know, like that would be the ultimate centrist. Abradolf Linkler. The old... Anyway, chat, I was just trying to create a morally gray character. I'm sorry.
That kind of experience if they can otherwise avoid it. Which is why people seek out communities of others who affirm their political beliefs. They don't want people to interrogate their beliefs or question why they think what they do. They want communities of people who will tell them exactly what they want to hear.
Well, yeah.
Recognize this. Online
chat,
political discourse.
Can you tell me exactly what I want to hear? Do you know what I want to hear? It rhymes with sans bites. It rhymes with sans bites. Do you know what I want to hear? Like, do you know what my echo chamber requires?
Course will start making a lot more sense. Earlier I mentioned the three ways
it's something Donkey Kong says, and also Hatsune Miku. What is it, chat?
This is the reason
what do I want to hear from you?
Basically never happens. Again, if you have ever actually meaningfully moved on your opinions as a consequence of engaging with people with different perspectives, you know that you are the outlier. We actually have some data to support this as well. In the Waller and Anderson study, they found that users don't tend to polarize individually over time. This analysis reveals several insights about the dynamics and mechanisms of polarization on Reddit. First, with the exception of 2016, users generally do not polarize over time. Within cohort polarization levels usually either remained unchanged or decreased from one year to the next. We directly measured individual level polarization by computing the fraction of users who actively moved by at least one standard deviation towards the partisan poles. This fraction is consistently low. Comparing users 12 months apart, it was between 1.9 and 3.3% prior to 2016, and peaked at 11.3% in November 2016. Instead, what they found found was that during 2016, a massive influx of new, younger users to Reddit coinciding with the 2016 election dramatically increased the overall polarization on Reddit and has since increased the overall polarization in the online right, especially when compared to the online left. Now, as a point about the study, when the researchers are referring to the level of polarization in the online right or the online left, they're not referring to how radical the communities are. What this is measuring is how much difference or variety of political opinions there is in the online left or the online right. In their analysis, they didn't focus so much on the actual text of Reddit comments so much as seeing which communities users tended to comment on and to what extent. Our approach differs from prior work examining social organization and political polarization in online.
It's a weird thing because it feels like the kind of study that's gonna see somebody that is like, let's say a right-winger, okay, that posts on nocommentchick's YouTube videos. Okay, so that's a good person, right? That's a right-winger, but they're making sure to spend some time engaging with the left, right? Do you think that's a good person? Have you seen that person in my comments before? Have you seen that person that's like they got right-wing politics, but for some reason they're over on nocommentchick's video commenting and giving their opinion on it? Do you think that that's because they're just very open and they want to make sure, like, maybe nocommentchick has some based ideas? I gotta listen to this blue-haired SJW, see what she has to say.
Platforms
because they're such good faith. They're good faith.
Our methodology avoids the biases
that
result from using self-reported data, expert labels, and survey-based methods by quantifying the social makeup of communities in a purely behavioral fashion. Communities are similar only if their user bases are similar. And computing this similarity along a social dimension, for example, U.S. political partisanship, can recover an accurate estimate of whether a particular user base is more.
Riley, hurry up. You're delaying my Clan Ops secret dance party.
Behaviorally aligned with the
I have to have the Clan Ops dance party.
Left or the right end of the spectrum. For example, the left or the right wing of U.S. politics. Users vote with their feet to decide the social orientation of communities. Only action across large numbers of people matters. Previous work has used word embeddings, high-dimension representations of text, to study cultural stereotypes and the cultural markers of class. Although our dataset comprises billions of comments, we do not use the text in our methodology. Differences in identity are reflected in the words people use. This relationship is relatively weak for our focus on measuring the social orientation of underlying community populations. Communities that use similar language may be socially distinct, and communities with distinct language may be socially similar. So, to restate their conclusion in different terms, in 2016, there was a massive wave of new users on Reddit who were young and skewed conservative. They probably supported Trump, and they represented views that were different from the ones that were most common in conservative spaces on Reddit. While the study cannot tell us what the beliefs of conservatives in Reddit were prior to 2016, we do know that this influx of new users caused the online right to develop a greater variety of spaces with three major differences of opinions between them, but which all still fell generally under the umbrella of conservatism. On the other hand, while we may constantly talk about differences of opinion in the online left, we can reasonably infer that the vast majority of the online left tends to have largely similar beliefs, since they occupy largely similar spaces. While the people watching may disagree with me, since often all we talk about in the online left seemingly is differences among each other, I think I can illustrate this with a couple examples. The first and most obvious to me is ContraPoints and the r/BreadTube subreddit. While she was not the first person to make video essays, a lot of people tend to recognize her as the spiritual founder of BreadTube as a genre and a space online. And the thing that's interesting to me about this is that saw her make a couple of videos critiquing capitalism, automatically assumed that she must have been an anarcho-communist. But critiquing an economic system is not the same thing as saying that we should advocate for a completely different economic system. Because the fact of the matter is that Contra has never publicly identified as an anarcho-communist. The whole idea of BreadTube and the conquest of bread didn't come from these creators at all. And yet, despite that, the space that grew up around her ended up becoming one of the main communities for discussing socialism in the past couple years. She did not make it that way. It became...
Yeah, what it was that, like, there was, her videos, like, I think it was more than just her videos critiquing capitalism, like, her videos on decrypting the alt-right, right? Like, basically, the scariness of the right-wing kind of paramilitary or, you know, brown shirt type organizations, like, caused you know, or correlates with, I don't know, you can say causation is a very strong claim. If we're going to be evidence-based like Riley wants us to be, then maybe we should just say correlation to be on the safe side. But yeah, like there's a correlation between people who are concerned about the rise of right-wing, you know, hard right viewpoints, including, you know, fascism that, you know, spreads itself through violence, not just, you know, democratically, like that. I think that there's a correlation between that and the, you know, 2016 election. And you know, don't pretend that Contra's like dabbling into anti-capitalist ideas wasn't, you know, an exploration of her own. But Riley is correct on this whole. And that, I'm sorry, not that kind of whole, Riley. I'm not trying to appeal to a sexual desire here, but on the whole, Riley's correct that Contra was never, you know, never said that she was a anarchist or an ANCOM or anything, even a leftist, right? And, you know, Times has signaled much the opposite. So, yeah, I think what it is it's just like there's like a social level of who is BreadTube, right? There's like an ideological level of who is BreadTube. And they're not exactly the same. Yeah, so what I'm saying is that like the social group of BreadTube encompasses creators who are not leftist necessarily. Like I think Neo Studios even fits into this rubric, right? You know, as a is you know, on the left but not a leftist, and yet, you know, does a lot of work kind of combating right-wing rhetoric, and is thus you know, definitely in the social group of BreadTube, which is maybe centered around leftists but doesn't exclude, you know, based, I guess, libs, right? Or at least that was the idea when it started out.
That way on its own. Another example.
There is such a thing, a lot of the base libs that BreadTube really wanted to like include and reach out to have turned out to be more shit libs than they realized.
Streamer Destiny, and every streamer that has tried to be like him who has risen.
But yeah, it's a weird thing because, like, you know, like you've got two different intentions there.
The prominence. Despite the fact that he is very openly a liberal, every streamer that has tried to replicate his platform and has risen to prominence has ended up drifting much further left in their political views than he's ever had. I think that when we say that something has low polarization, that we intuitively think that this is a good thing. But I want to reinforce that all that this means is that the vast majority of people in these spaces have views that are similar enough that they occupy similar communities. That's it. So here, despite the fact that the content creators who are largely credited with fostering some of the most prominent online political spaces are liberal, the communities that formed around them ended up being a combination of the entirety of the online left, and especially the more radical parts of it. To me, this reads as the reason why the online left is constantly eating itself while the online right isn't. Because while the most radical parts of the online left tend to still occupy the same communities as its more moderate members, the online right is so polarized that people with differing opinions are different enough that they could form separate communities that almost never interact with each other. I've been focusing on the online left for a bit, so I want to pause for a moment and say that while this might seem like a more appealing situation to be in, I think this is vastly more dangerous. Because there is enough polarization in the online right, it means that anytime people have their views, any of their views, challenged, they could probably almost always find communities who will affirm those challenged beliefs. This gets really dangerous when people on the right tend to seek out communities that affirm conspiratorial or even dangerous beliefs about the world. If you have a community online that is completely united on the belief that vaccines don't work, that the 2020 election was rigged by elites in our society, well, we all know what the outcome of that was. But the option to just move to different online communities isn't as available for people in the online.
Is that a funny joke? Because I know it's like a meme or something. Is that a DGG meme?
Left as for people in the online right. Despite how radical the most radical parts of the online left are, I still tend to constantly be following whatever Destiny's friend is tweeting about or whatever the new Contra drama is. And increasingly, whenever I'm up to, despite the fact I actively try to ignore these people for over half a year, not only do they tend to occupy the same spaces as the more moderate members of the online left, they make it an active effort to try and bully anyone out of these spaces who do not completely affirm every one of their beliefs. These people do not care about trying to resolve disagreements, and they can't find other spaces of people who better affirm their beliefs. So they do whatever they can to bully out anyone who doesn't completely affirm what they want. I think one of the best examples of this is my recent experience dealing with Calvin Gara. For context, Calvin is a transmasc YouTuber with an incredibly painful and controversial history. He used to identify as transmedicalist, meaning that he thought you needed to be medically diagnosed with gender dysphoria in order to be transgender, and that you cannot identify as non-binary. He also used to make content where he would make fun of smaller content creators and cause them harm by subjecting them to a substantial amount of online bullying. This is admonishable behavior, and I have never said otherwise. Over this past year, Calvin actually watched some of my content, and eventually we started talking. I didn't debate him, I didn't try to antagonize him, just talked to him and tried to convince him that he shouldn't continue that behavior and should change his views on transmedicalism. And you know what? I actually made a lot of progress with him. Not only did Calvin end up moving away from his transmedicalist beliefs, not only did he stop making the content bullying smaller creators, but he has not made one—
He used to identify as a transmedicalist, and now he just still is one, right? Oh no, this is coming from the person that, like, listen, I feel like, okay, so when I was in this circle, when I was hanging out with DemonMama and stuff, there was like rules, and one of the biggest rules, and like we didn't be like, oh yeah, don't break the rule, right? It was unconscious. We just knew that you didn't do it, right? Like calling, you know, if Riley had a transmedicalist take, you didn't call Riley a transmedicalist because that was like, it's over, and you're canceled, right? It's more of a problem to make an accusation, right? If you don't have like 100% like receipts on that accusation, right? And I mean receipts like Riley with a shirt that says transmedicalism is fucking based ooh, and it has a picture of Calvin Gara on it, and like, you know, I don't know, and then like underneath is written, this shirt is not ironic or something. I don't know, you'd have to like go that far, like, right, to like, you know, make that claim. So you just like try to stay away from it, right? But there was always the thing of like, you know, she would say something and you'd be like, ooh, that is an argument I've heard before. That is an argument that I've heard before. Not an argument that I expected to hear from you, my dear. How do I put this in a gentle way to discuss, to unpack what is problematic about your viewpoint? And I know, sweetie, I know that you weren't trying to say this, okay? But somebody could take what you just said and, you know, like, you can't actually just say that's a fucking transmed talking point. Please stay away from that shit, right? You said Riley was a transmed. Oh my god. This is what DemonMama got in trouble for with the Scrub King, you know, talking about him being an invertebrate cellular phone. An invertebrate cellular phone. DemonMama never called Scrub King an inverted cellular phone, if you know what I'm saying, right? Because you know, you're not allowed to, and she knew that. She said that the arguments were, you know, reminiscent of. She went out of her way to not make that accusation that DGG insists to this day that she made, right? And these people think that these are like the worst things in the world you could do. Racism. I mean, it was a heated gamer moment, right? Everybody understands. Everybody's a little bit edgy. No, it's okay. It's okay. It's no big deal, right? But yeah, like in terms of like these sort of criticisms, you just can't say it. You're not allowed to say it. Your speech is suppressed. Your voice is stolen. I think she knows it. And the thing is, like, a best faith interpretation, she keeps walking backwards into the shit of transmed arguments, right? Best faith interpretation. But listen, chat, I don't run in these circles anymore. I don't have to be nice to these people. So I can just call a transmed, all right? And if you've got a problem with that, then you probably are a transmed yourself. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Like, come at me. Come fucking at me. So the spicy take of saying that transmedicalism is transmedicalism.
More video bullying smaller content creators and has publicly apologized for that behavior. On top of all of that, he's also specifically credited me as the person to move him away from his transmedicalist beliefs. This is one of those rare instances where people who
You're a
have different perspectives
de-radicalizer.
were actually able to reach an agreement.
Except he's
and
still
make both sides better
radicalized.
off. You would think that people
See,
who've been
like,
criticized.
okay, so you hear what Riley's saying, and you can see what's appealing about it. You'd love to be able to take trans meds and be like, you need to love yourself for who you are. Calvin Garrett. Calvin's like, oh, you're right. I should. This is all about my self-hate. I've been being mean to all these other trans people, and it's really about my own self-hate. If I deal with that, then I can stop being a trans man. Thank you. Thank you, Riley. Thank you, Irene. You have finally brought me forward today into the light of self-love, right? It would be so nice. I wish we could. I really wish we could just woo them into like loving themselves for who they are. But unfortunately, it usually does not work that way. More often than not, if you're in this situation, they will tell you what you want to hear. Just like Shoe on Head will tell Vosh what Vosh wants to hear. And you will say, congratulations. You have made great strides. You can come back into the fold. And you know, despite all the fucking harm you did, despite you're not taking the videos down, or you do take the videos down, but then you put them back up, right? You know, you're improving and you're one of us now, right? And they're like, that's right, one of you. And they kind of get in, and what they do is they dilute what we're trying to do, right? Because Shoe on Head is not on board with our shit. I hate to break it to you, Vosh. Aristocracy is not anywhere close to being on board with our shit. In fact, with your help, she's undermining the project of, you know, any sort of online leftism. Like, you literally just like brought, you know, a right winger in, right? And it's just because like Vosh like sees somebody who's like, I don't know, she seems pretty nice. Like it's hard for Vosh to imagine that this anime girl is actually in favor of a two-state separate but equal solution, an apartheid, you know, Israeli-Palestinian solution, right? Just if you actually look at what she's about, you can't agree with that shit. You can't be okay with that shit and call yourself a leftist. And yes, Vosh was just like, I don't know, fucking based anime girl, like, you know, fillets my ego in the course of an interview. I think I like her. Like, you're welcome to the. And it's so harmful. It's so fucking harmful. And the ironic thing being that Vosh was the one that was famous for saying, the left is not your social club. Well, Vosh, now it's yours. And that's the problem. That's a problem. The problem is we don't have enough gatekeeping. I know you're not, gatekeeping. Oh my God. Yeah, gatekeeping, Vosh. Gatekeeping. You know, like you do with Crowton Tea? Yeah? Try doing that a little bit more. Try pressing the reject button a few times more, Vosh, because you've been fucking up.
Him for that behavior and those beliefs would be happy.
See, that's right? Irene gets mad at Vosh.
My sweet summer child. Shortly after I initially
do I need to re-enable the clips?
Content again was the YouTuber.
Should I re-enable the clips?
They talked about their experience being harassed by Calvin and criticized that behavior. On its own, this is completely fine, and I think that it's good for people to speak out against others who have harmed them. That's what I'm doing with this video. But this was also happening at the same time.
Is Irene going to be good?
Recognizing the fact that Calvin had come a long way
if we re-enable her clips.
Because if you look at the comments in the videos where I first talked to him, while I mostly got positive feedback, Calvin still got a lot of hate. I'm not saying this is unjustified. I just wanted to try and encourage people to take a more restorative perspective with him, since he had reasonably shown that he was willing to change. While people were initially willing to be at least amicable with me talking to him, everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. And by the Fire Nation, I mean Brennan getting on stream and saying that I wasn't their ally to their entire audience.
Yeah. Riley is an ally, but okay. She's not an ally to me. Anything short of denouncing Calvin's actions is not helpful to me. Yeah, that's what I'll say about that.
YouTuber Cops Hate Mo also made a video criticizing Calvin. Again, I'm not saying that this is unjustified in and of itself. The problem here is that I was also criticized in this video just for my interaction with Calvin. After these videos, the online left did a 180.
This is such an ignorant thing to come at people with, right? Largely trans-masked YouTube was dealing with Calvin, right? And Riley's just kind of like jumping in and being like, oh, I got a solution. Let's just like fucking like give an olive branch to this guy without even really understanding the depth and the breadth of the harm that he caused, right? From what I've heard, from those people, from those creators, it was not helpful, right? That is what, you know, that was what people were upset about, Riley. I totally forgot. Oh, here, let me just put the video back on.
On how they felt about my
Sorry, chat, I'm like
Gara. The next time I talked to Calvin
stun
on
locked.
stream, got less views, substantially more hate comments, and dislike
There we
bombed
go.
into the dirt. Not only were the people who criticized him not happy, they were criticizing me just for associating with him. Even though I was the person who got them the things they had been asking for him to move on his positions, to stop making content bullying smaller creators, and to take down the content where he had bullied content creators previously. Even though I never disputed any of the harm that he had committed, people still criticized me just for talking to him like a normal person.
I mean, I just wanted to say first and foremost, the reason that I was hesitant to join is only because I don't want you to get more hate. I just want everyone in the stream chat to know the reason I'm here, the reason I'm even paying any mind to this video. It's kind of just a reiterated video of things that have already been said, is because Riley got mentioned, and I'm sure that everyone in the stream chat can agree with me on this. That Riley, it doesn't like we can all discuss everything I've
You
done.
ruined a
I'm
lot of
so
lives,
down
yeah.
to do that with you, Riley, because I trust you and I have a good relationship with you.
Oh no, I got like my
Everyone in the
Twitch
stream
stuff in the
chat just to
background.
keep in
Okay, we're
mind
alright.
That Riley had nothing to do with anything I've ever done. You've only ever acted in good faith, and for anyone that ever watches this afterwards either, like the people that mention you in the video, it's just, this is why I'm just like, I'm pressed in here to talk, because it's just ridiculous that you're being implicated into my actions and they're mad at you for trying to discuss things that have happened with me. You already know that, Riley, but I just want to make sure people in the chat know.
What's pretty apparent at this point is that many of these people didn't care whether or not he actually changed his mind. Not really, because if they did,
Riley, how about this? What if you talk to like other trans creators in that space first? Like, what if you talk to them first? What if you informed yourself what people have been dealing with? What, like, some of Calvin's victims, right? You know, I don't know. It's just like, you know, I mean, I feel like it's an issue of knowledge. It's like, you know, collabed with Blair White after he talked to Riley and Xander, making fun of Milo Stewart. Okay, yeah, great. Good job. Good judgment, Riley. Like, you got used. That's what happened. You got used. Launder Calvin's fucking image without him really making any change.
they would have recognized more of his efforts to improve and certainly would not have criticized me for how I engaged with him. Fact of the matter is that what these people wanted from the beginning was to get Calvin to leave this space by any means necessary. They were going to antagonize anyone who even remotely tried to humanize him. The ironic thing about this is that consequently, a lot of the people who have criticized Calvin for bullying people online have turned right around and bullied me for trying to give them what they said they wanted from the beginning. And oh boy, let me tell you, that hurt. That hurt a lot. Let me take this moment to say that this does not mean that you should never change your mind in the face of being proven wrong. It's good to be principled in your beliefs. The point is that it doesn't do good to give in to every demand of people.
Riley,
because a lot of them
Riley.
don't really
Young
care
man
about
left.
actually resolving disagreements with people. What they care about is whether content creators will affirm exactly what they want to believe. She can't take criticism. For example, she refuses to bend to my will. And unless you absolutely toe the ideological line, you're going to be labeled as just as bad as the worst possible person who doesn't affirm their beliefs. Because we're talking about people who aren't interested in actually resolving disagreements,
Meow.
that means that sometimes people in the online left will even commit themselves to denying scientific fact if it means just justifying bullying me online. I doubt these are people who actually care about resolving the philosophical ethics of consent. These are people who wanted to try and bully me out of the space by any means necessary. The morning after, I discovered that members of their community were attempting en masse to have me thrown out of law school and tear down my livelihood.
Wait. Okay, good, because Gemmy's a stan.
My closest friends over to my apartment.
Gemmy's an RGR
just to
stan.
keep me from killing myself. For all that these people talk about the harms of online harassment, they have absolutely no problem with driving people to suicide if it happens to be someone they don't like. They don't care about being consistent. They don't care about the truth. They just care about bullying out people who don't affirm exactly what they want to hear.
Wait,
And
but
they
what
will
were you
do
trying to
that
do
by-
by calling dough by smearing dough? What were you trying to do? Weren't you? God.
And
Yo, I have to actually. Ophidian, you would think so, right? You would think so, but I swear to God, you know, every time, like I actually have to show people, like, wait, you know, like, there's people that don't think that Gemmy's that bad. There's people that like see this fucking sphere, like this little area of the social network, and they're like, no, like they seem like okay people. There's just some people in the Twitch politics scene, like what's so bad about that? And it's like, oh yeah, like you know, that like I don't know. It's fucked up how many people, you know, and it's DGG. Basically, DGG has this corrosive effect of taking on the most like harmful part of the trans community to the trans community, nurturing it and protecting it, and attacking anybody who points out like how fucking grotesque like this kind of trans on trans hate that like Gammy just embodies is, right? There are people that like just like, you know, were watching this and like hating my guts for it, you know, like, right? This is a big part of my anti-fandom, or like Gammy fans, because Gammy's been tweeting about me since the fucking Dylan thing, maybe even before. She's kind of obsessed with me, right? We did a stream on her. I never put the video out, right? Because I just felt like, I don't know, it's so negative. I try to balance the positive and the negative, and it's like Gammy's just like, you know, all the way on the negative scale. So I don't know. It seems like I feel like I'm just gonna drive my audience to like they're gonna spend all their spoons on my videos, right? I don't want that. I want to like, you know, do something redeeming on stream every once in a while, right? Like talk about something nice, talk about something cool, talk about something that gives you hope, like not just like, you know, be like, here's Riley Grace Roshong, here's Gammy, you know, but like I do have to kind of convince people, right? There are people out there that'll interact with these people and they don't realize, like, no, dude, just Beta Blair, that's who you're interacting with. This is fucking Beta Blair White, you know, that you're dealing with, right? They like, but I support trans people. Okay, well, that's a trans person who is like, does not agree with you, does not seem to be in, you know, line with you on supporting trans people. And like, oh my God, it's so horrible. It's so horrible how, you know, like I said, this is the Twitch politics scene. It's a bigger crime to accuse somebody of being transphobic than it is to be fucking horrendously transphobic, right? That you get away with unless somebody's just got just like absolute, you know, receipts on you. Whereas if you want to make an accusation of transphobia, oh my God, you gotta look into their heart and do a X-ray of their heart and be like, see the dark transphobia in their heart, and it's like, oh yeah, there it is. I don't know what would be proof for people, right? If it walks like a transmed, if it talks like a transmed, if it talks shit about its friends like a transmed, it's probably a fucking transmed, yeah?
He means necessary.
Yeah?
What happened to pedo jacketing bad? Like, honestly, what happened to that? I thought that was the big problem, but apparently not. Now it's okay, apparently. It's unbelievable to me. It's fucking
Oh,
unbelievable to me.
wait. They close ranks because they all have the... Are you talking about like this is like the Destiny Discord or something? They all have the most grotesque Discord log history. That does seem to be a trend. That does seem to be a phenomenon.
That people, literally a couple
I never thought that it was being used as like a... held over people, but yeah, that makes sense.
months ago were crying about pedo jacketing, and now they're acting like, oh no, it's fine now. It's fucking unreal.
Hello again. Second take
Hello, hello.
RGR here. So
Wait, hello, 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 hello. There we go. That feels
for
better.
the people who are here for me to talk about the drama I've been involved in, you may be
Wait,
upset
didn't you
that
just-
I didn't get into the particular merits of the discussions I've had. But for those of you who are watching that already hate me, it's clear that there's nothing I could say to make you stop. And
Riley, Riley, Riley. I could never hate you. Seriously, I don't actually hate you. I should hate you. You've given me every reason to hate you, but I am too busy feeling sorry for you to actively hate you.
And for those of you who don't hate me, how would I justify myself to these people? Clearly they don't care about what's true, since they will blatantly lie about me to try and harm me no matter what I do.
I mean,
will say
listen,
that if
like, I will say that, like, you know, being an online personality, it's not easy. You know, if she feels like people have lied about her, like, that doesn't feel good. I do want to honor that she is a human being, and we should remember that, and, you know, like, treat her accordingly, even if she doesn't treat you accordingly, right? Yeah, Riley, I fucking honor your humanity, and I do not wish misery, stress, anxiety, any of that shit on you, but just understand that, like, it's not, you're not, like, when you fucking throw that shit around a dough, like, it's hard to feel sorry for you even, right? God.
If I ever do happen to talk about the merits of those issues again with my platform, and that's a big if, they'll only be after I read a ton of
Yeah, you're
moral
not,
philosophy on the subject. As a side note, I've actually
You're
been
not
reading
chronically
some essays on
online.
the subject in my spare time.
Wait, what is this?
Because while I don't think that the people I'm criticizing care about the merits of these discussions,
What is she reading?
and while you may not always agree with me, I do actually care about what I say on my platform. I listen to a lot of the criticism about me behind the scenes, because if someone gives me the argument that addresses my concerns, then I do want to hear them. But you know as well as I do that the vast majority of the time on here, people are not looking to seriously consider ideas and perspectives contrary to their own. They're looking to get a clip to take out of context or some rhetorical own that they can upload so that they can tear down.
What were you looking for with Doe? What were you looking for with Doe? What were you looking for with DemonMama, for that matter? What were you looking for when you were watching my irrelevant debate, Riley? What were you looking for?
And harm people that they don't like. Earlier this year, I made a
What were
dialect
you
video-
looking to do with that 30 fucking tweet tirade about NCC is probably gonna say that she supports blackface in this video? Yeah, that's what the video should have been. If I was a fucking edgelord, I would have titled that, "Hey, good to see you, King of William." If I was an edgelord, I would have titled that video like "No Comment Chick endorses blackface in this debate," or like, you know, like that would be the DGG way to title like a relevance debate against me, right? I hate to hear the word left in relation to this crazy debate clown. Oh, yeah, that's actually a good point. Yeah, like, look, it's not Twitch politics, all right? It's Twitch dramatics. It stopped being about politics a long time ago, right? It started off, this was an outgrowth of fucking BreadTube. Like, the real, like, energy behind this Twitch politics scene came from, you know, people who wanted to do similar stuff to what Contra and H-Bomb and Sean and all the others had done on YouTube, right? And, oh my god, we were fucking naive, including me. I mean, the problem is, chat, like, this debate bro shit, it's almost like you gotta see it yourself to know what's wrong with it. You gotta see it up close and personal. And even if you do, there's some chance it'll just kind of sweep you along, because there is a thing that'll happen where you become useful to a larger content creator, right? and it feels good. And it feels affirming, and you're getting, like, you know, the shout outs, and you're getting all the accolades and this and that, you know, and you feel like you're part of something, you know, pretty cool, like an exclusive club. But you also realize that the rules of that club are that you cannot criticize anybody else in that club, right? Or you get kicked out. You can criticize people outside of the club. In fact, you're kind of expected to, right? But you cannot criticize anybody in that club. You got to just kind of like, you know, bite your tongue in terms of, and I'm not just talking about like, you can't, I'm not saying like, oh yeah, I'm in CC, I want to blow people up. No, I actually didn't, and I don't. I want to make the place better, right? But if there's some shit that I'm seeing where nobody else is speaking up for marginalized people, yeah, I'm gonna fucking speak up. And that is, again, I found out, much to my shock, that is against the rules, right? No matter how nicely you try to do it, no matter how you couch it in compliments, you try to spare the person's feelings, but like, look, I'm sitting there with the fucking naked emperor in his fucking bathrobe, just shitting his pants, intellectually shitting his pants on my stream. What the fuck was I supposed to do? And then I kind of tease him a little bit and you know, ask him one more time, you're gonna do anything different? And he just fucking throws the lasagna, the delicious compliment lasagna, back in my face, right? And that's what I learned. That this is not a place for people who give a fuck. This is for people who play the game. This is for the people willing to allow the perverse incentives of the platform to form who they are as a content creator. And once you violate those rules, once you show up on their radar, they do not let you go. These fuckers have been harassing me. These Twitch politics fuckers have been harassing me since April, right? And they think that they can chase me off the platform. They don't know what cat girl they're messing with, okay?
Exploring a lot of my thoughts about the subject.
The game does kind of suck, yeah.
One
I
of
mean,
the
like,
main ideas,
to some extent, like, you know, like, look at this. Like, what are we looking at? Drama, right? Because that's where the eyeballs go. The eyeballs go to where the drama is. I try to take the drama. It's over here and say, hey, drama, you like this, don't you? Yeah, you want the drama? You want the drama? Well, guess what I'm going to put right in front of the drama? The actual issue. The actual issue that was behind the drama. I brought it out to the front just for you. Hey, maybe if you want to stare at the drama, you got to stare through this now. Like that's the only way you can do it, is try to recenter shit on what actually matters. Try to recenter marginalized people in the discussion, right? But it is a struggle, because that is not exactly what the clout beast wants. That is not what the algorithm beast wants necessarily. I mean, you got to thread that needle. You gotta thread it you gotta get really good at threading needles.
The video
if you wanna, and this is just to feel that you maybe have done more good than harm. Like, this isn't, you know, to win. This isn't to change the dynamics of the game. This is just to have the chance that you're gonna be contributing a net positive, because that is not the way the winds are blowing. If you go with the path of least resistance, you're gonna do harm. 100%.
acting in good faith, meaning that they're willing to consider ideas they believe may disprove their own and benefit at all from interacting with bad faith actors, people who won't engage with ideas that they believe may disprove.
I wish I could do Naruto
I don't think you
stuff.
can, at least in the long run.
Like, chat,
Because
can you teach
even
me
if a bad faith
Naruto
actor
things?
Can ever raise a valid criticism
You know?
to an argument that you make, not only will they hold that criticism over you long after you move on the issue. Think about the situation with Calvin Gara.
They need to learn
they
the-
will never move
the
on
jutsu?
any issues.
Is that what they're called, the
criticize them on,
jutsu?
even if they reasonably should. This is again why talking
Yeah,
about these
nice.
issues is often so difficult.
That's based,
since
King of
usually they're
William.
raised by conservatives who, while the issues they are raising may have merit, are often motivated by something like clout or the possibility of tearing down people they don't like. It's also important to remember many of the bad faith political content creators in this space actually have already failed pursuing their political ambitions, whether that's trying to run for office.
I'm not modded in my own chat? What the fuck?
They only started doing social media work as a backup. If you are
What's
able
wrong?
to land a solid criticism against any of these people, there's a good
What's wrong with my
likelihood that it
shout-out?
won't affect them whatsoever. The depressing thing is that I don't think that any of the people I've criticized in this video are going to be seriously affected by this in the long term. They engage in reprehensible behavior all the time. They're able to get away with it because their communities will support anything they do. They otherwise
No
have
mods, no
absolutely
masters, I guess, not
real
even me.
political aspirations in real
What?
life. If
Jen-
you actually have something to lose, if you actually have real political
Oh my god, I should be paying
aspirations,
attention to
there's a lot
Riley
they can do to
and her
harm you and
substantive
your future.
argument.
Because while they don't care about the actual merits
No,
of
it's
the
okay.
subjects
It's
you talk
okay.
about,
Meow meow.
they
You can be
know
okay.
that
You can be
do.
okay for a
There's a lot
second.
of power they can wield
Meow.
over you because of that if you're not careful. So how do we deal with this? I'm going to say right here that I don't have any perfect solutions. I'm trying to figure this out just the same as you are, but I at least
Okay,
have some ideas.
here's my solution, okay? Come over to my house, bring hummus, chips, and soda pop. And Riley, we will figure this out. We're gonna fix the online sphere. We're gonna make it nice. We're gonna keep people like you and me and Lindsay Ellis from suffering under this hot allostatic load, okay? That's what we're gonna do. That's what we're gonna figure it out over hummus. Hummus, but you gotta bring the hummus, okay? Like I need you to bring me hummus. Riley, I just really want hummus. It's like what I'm saying. Like just come over, bring hummus, and we'll talk it out, Riley. We can talk it out. You can be like, I'm really mad that you didn't endorse blackface. I'm like, I'm sorry, Riley. I don't think blackface is good. Like, so I said so. Yeah, but I really thought from that thumbnail that you were gonna go ahead and be like blackface beast, right? And it really pissed me off when I got to the end of that 30 tweet tirade against you, NCC, and you hadn't endorsed shit. Like, well, you blame Mr. Geek. That's not my fault. Mr. Geek made the thumbnail, okay? It's Mr. Geek's thumbnail. It's irrelevance, dumbass, hypothetical, thought experiment, shit show. Don't blame me. Don't blame me. I voted for Vivian, okay?
Yes. In order to
Vivian for president. Yes, that's what I said, chat. I don't care if she wasn't born in the United States. I don't care if she doesn't live in the United States. Vivian can be our queen.
deal with the problem of political
Vivian for queen.
hobbyism. While I don't think that we can avoid the fact that people will seek out like-minded communities, I do think that we can create communities of people that are united under the kind of principles that make reaching agreements possible. Mind you, I've been saying reaching agreements a lot.
This is just my headcanon, Joni. She didn't actually say this. It's just like I'm imagining her like being mad at me for not saying, like, people get mad at me for not like saying a lot of things that I shouldn't say.
Throughout this
But they
video.
want me to have said it. They want me to have said it.
Oh, people just have.
Come on, you don't think that NCC says the N-word when she's drunk? You don't think that she DMs people the N-word when she's drunk? You know, just look at that girl. Look at that girl. She, 100%. Just look at her. That is one sussy baka.
To agree with whatever I say. What I mean is that we need communities which agree on some kind of neutral way to resolve disagreements where, even if some parties don't like the reached conclusion...
They just want me to be a sussy baka, don't they? Is that what you want, Twitch? Be careful what you ask for, okay? Do not tempt me with a good time, okay? Or I will take you to the secret clan ops dance party.
that everyone agrees with the conclusions because the way that we reach them is the best one that we have. That may sound complicated, but I think that this can be as simple as deferring to the scientific method and relevant academic literature on...
People think I have files, okay? I want you to look. Files are so old school. I use a computer. Do you see? That's my computer back there. I use a computer. I don't keep files. I don't keep folders. I just use a computer. It's ones and zeros. I feed it little punch cards and stuff, right?
Issues that people
I'm
discover.
I'm modernized. NCC is modernized. NCC does not use files. NCC is not a secretary from the 1950s, okay? NCC is definitely a secretary from the 1970s, filing her nails when she's supposed to be working.
While I have not always been perfect about doing this in the past, I think I have done better than most and will be redoubling my efforts to be focusing on...
Chat, What decade of secretary would I be?
this going forward. And while
What decade of secretary is the hottest?
it's true that scientists are not literally always correct, the scientific
The
method is
80s
still one of
ones
the
are
best
cool.
tools
They got
we
that
have as a
shoulder pads.
society to understand the nature of
Still
the
filing
world.
the nails?
This is the reason why whenever someone may think the prevailing science is wrong, the solution is not to just throw out the relevant literature and say, oh, well, sometimes scientists are wrong in the long view of history, so whatever, reality can be whatever I want. Instead, what we do is take that null
I
hypothesis.
love how my entire view of history is formed by movies that I've seen. Like, every 80s secretary is the secretary from Ghostbusters. Every 70s secretary is the secretary from some, like, exploitation film. You know, it's just like
Develop an alternative
every 60s secretary. Do I have a 60s secretary or just put Mrs. Robinson in there? Because I haven't seen many 60s movies.
hypothesis if we have a good faith basis for it, and test it using the best evidence we have. That being said, in order to cultivate a community where this kind of dialogue is even possible, it is fundamentally necessary to normalize the value of toleration of different beliefs.
Oh my god, she's annoying. She's boring and annoying.
Discussion earlier of the difference between liberalization and democratization. In order to even have forums where people civilly resolve disagreements, you have to have a community of people who want that kind of discussion to begin with. Again, the vast majority of people in this political hobbyist space don't want those kinds of discussions. What they want are debates.
You haven't seen movies before the
parasocial
80s?
streamers can dunk on people they don't like so as to affirm their worldview. And I'll even admit
that
that I've been guilty of feeding into this
that's
myself.
true.
I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm
That part's true, but it's not really.
Over this past year, as these different groups have harassed me, certainly I've had many times where I've pushed back against them because I felt like I'm being attacked by an immeasurable amount of people. Recently, I went on a punished RGR arc on Twitter because even after leaving these people alone for half a year, they would still continue to antagonize me relentlessly. Leaving them alone didn't work. So I thought that pushing back against them might finally get them to stop. As we all know, that didn't work either. While I can't change how I've interacted with the space in the past, I can reflect on what happened and make sure that I don't make the same mistakes again in the future. I talked earlier about the problems of polarization in the online right and in the online left. While I think that the online left is in a better spot
they do.
compared with the online right, at least different parts of the online
Rolling
left
your
talk to
eyes.
each other and acknowledge that they exist.
Yeah, they do all
I
use
don't
the
see
same
problems I've
speech
discussed
patterns.
going away anytime soon. One video about the reasons that people engage with politics online isn't going to make people grow out of this political hobbyist mindset. How this will probably happen is over time through creators who recognize the prevalence of these issues, carving out spaces that fundamentally value toleration of different perspectives and new
Riley. I need to... Are you done yet? I need to have my clan ops dance party, Riley.
methods
Secret clan ops dance party.
for resolving disagreements. Then, hopefully, one or more of these communities will grow as more people who share those values find them. This is similar to what happened when BreadTube grew in response to the skeptic community. People started recognizing the flaws with the skeptic community, a couple smaller content creators called attention to those flaws, and a new community grew in response to the older one. And for a while, BreadTube was actually pretty good. I remember a time when
BreadTube was good?
Was to make thoughtful and well-researched videos talking about contemporary social issues from underrepresented perspectives. There was even a time when I closely identified with the label of BreadTube when I first started. Unfortunately, the space is almost completely unrecognizable compared to what it was a couple of years ago. Now it's a haven for chronically online leftists to make hundreds of videos talking about socialism and circle jerk about why they hate liberal content creators. Fortunately, I think that there are a lot of other people who recognize the problems I'm talking about and are looking for something new. Like
Listen, here's the deal. As somebody who brought liberals onto my panel back in the day, hey, Darknet Hitman, BreadTube is CIA. I know, I heard the new Caleb Moppin just dropped. No, the new RGR just dropped, actually, is what happened. BreadTube was good when, for Riley, when she felt like part of it. Yeah, that's probably true. Oh my god, what the fuck was I gonna say? No. I got distracted by Elf.
At least some creators in this space who have grown to prominence for calling out the same kinds of problems that I'm talking about here. But I also know that these...
Yeah, like the whole, like, you know, it's a bunch of lefties slagging on anybody who's not... Here's the problem, okay? Like, I brought liberals onto my panels, okay? Because I thought that it seemed like a lot of them had the same values that I had, that I thought weren't really liberal values, that underneath it all, they had leftist values. they had a sense, if nothing else, than a fairness, right? And that sort of, if they actually took that value to its, unfolded that, then they would realize that like capitalism is not based, and that like you've got to at least admit that we need to move past it, that it is a stage in our development, and it is not a good stage to stay in. At this, it's not working out for us really well, right? And it just, did it work? Not really. Not really, because then it kind of gives you this thing where you start to, like, what happened was I was like in social groups with a bunch of like, well, actually not just with liberals, with conservatives. I had conservatives, by bringing liberals into my social group, I had conservatives forced into my social group, and that I found to be incredibly deleterious, right? Because although we might think with, a lot of us think with very careerist minds of like, okay, well, let me make friends with this right winger, and maybe later I can debate her and have some clout from that, right? And of course, I'm not going to agree with Lauren Southern. I'll debate against her. I got to slay the dragon and just leave the dragon alive. Make sure the dragon stays alive so you can slay it again next week, right? And you don't see the problem with that. You don't see what that communicates to your audience when you're basically saying, hey, Lauren Southern has some problematic ideas, but gosh darn it, she's actually, she's an okay person underneath it all. It is like, no, and no, that is not right. So yeah, we need some gatekeeping, right? And I'm not saying that, like, we're not trying to, like, you're not, Riley, nobody's saying, like, eat their, remember, this is a person that thought that eat the rich was like a literal call to cannibalism, right? Nobody's saying that we're gonna put you on a Subway sandwich and eat you, Riley, okay? Like, I'm sorry, like, I don't know if that's your, like, some people's idea of a good time, like, but no, that's not in the plans, right? What we're saying is that, like, it's not useful to, like, kind of just like integrate the left with liberalism. It causes confusion, and basically, instead of making what we were hoping would happen is to make liberal communities more leftist. But what happened instead was that leftist communities adopted liberalism without realizing that's what they were doing, because there was so much concern about anti-intellectualism that, the basics of understanding were not emphasized, right? So you got people that don't really know leftism or liberalism or communism or anything else other than as a label, other than as a affiliation, right? It is a social group. And when you have that outlook, it's really easy for that social group to just kind of drift, back into essentially liberalism. And right, and what does that do? That, because like the positive thing that came out of the 2016 election was the movement of the Overton window to encompass actual leftism for the first time in probably since the Cold War days, right? We had a stronger like sense of an actual left that it had existed in years and years and years. And the problem now is that part of that left doesn't realize it's actually not left at all, right? And they don't realize that there are right wingers amongst them just kind of gaming them, just kind of playing them, just kind of pulling their strings, right? Because, like that is part of liberal aesthetics. Is like, you got to accept what does the right wing say? We should probably talk to them. We should probably compromise them. We should probably start a fucking debate panel that causes us to grow, to nurture a right-wing ecosystem where none existed, to build careers for cat ears, you say, to build careers for people for people like CTV and Rob Noor, right? Just to be able to slay that dragon every week. And it's a shit show, it's a spectacle, and it doesn't help. You're not bringing them to the left. if you're DemonMama or Vosh, you're maybe entertaining your crowd. But I gotta say, it's a hollow entertainment, right? I don't think that infotainment that like DemonMama strives for, I don't think that is worthless, okay? But I do think that when too much dominance paradigm gets mixed in there and gets emphasized, you're diluting your praxis, right? And it's a sad thing, because like I'm talking about DemonMama because she's one of the better, you know, one of the better large content creators out there as far as this goes, right? Not because I'm like trying to, you know, call her out, at least not tonight. You jumped on Dr. K's charity stream and had a great conversation. Really enjoyed it. We weren't spinning our wheels with liberals and libertarians. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, yeah, I like the idea of panels, like, especially just like it might seem superfluous. It might seem like there's, you know, a debate, a panel, or whatever, you know, it's the same thing, a discussion, all the same thing. No, like framing it as a discussion means that you've got a space to maybe learn from each other, maybe agree on some things, and have that be okay. Because with debates, the impetus is to find something that you disagree on, even if you have to kind of like magnify a small difference. There's that impulse. Now, like, do I hate like contentious discussions, i.e. debates? No, but I like it better when they arise organically, when it's not like we're going to have a debate, when it's more like we're going to have a discussion, and you know, if we feel like debating something, we will debate that something, right? But it's not, that doesn't need to be the dominant method of discourse, right? In general, it's overemphasized in our society. In general, dominance paradigm is way fucking overemphasized, and it is not a left value, right? That is a value of the right. That is a worship of power. And as I've said before, power protects no one, right? Just because you've got a gun in your hand doesn't mean it's going to do shit for you when it gets knocked on the floor, okay? Power protects no one. Power doesn't care about you. What cares about you is solidarity. What connects you is solidarity. How you get there is by acknowledging your vulnerability, not by trying to hide it and trying to be some hard ass, right? By being real and stating what your weaknesses are and what your needs are, and trusting that other people, instead of saying, oh great, I want to take advantage of those, are going to say, hey, I've got weaknesses, I've got needs, maybe we can watch each other's backs, right? As somebody with ADHD, this is extremely, like, you know, this is something that's intuitive to me, because I actually need people around me to kind of watch my back. There are some things that I don't notice that I should notice, right? But I just, because of my, you know, executive function or lack thereof, I don't tend to see. And I'm brilliant at other things, right? You know, I'm pretty good, right? I have a way with words, for instance, right? But like, if I'm not careful, I'm going to do something really stupid and all my fucking words won't matter at all. And that's why it's really nice to have other people around who can sort of like look at that and say, Irene, I know you're going to run the marathon, but are your shoes tied? Oh shit, they're not tied. Thank you. Thank you. You know, and that's just like one small example. You know, we've all got ways that we can be interdependent without it making us weak. In fact, the more interdependent you are, the less dependent you are on one person, right? Like the interdependency like kind of weaves us together in a way that denies anybody that sort of coercive power over each other. And all my life, that sort of coercive power is what I've been trying to escape. I want to help others because I want to, not, you know, be manipulated and used because I have to. And I don't think that's that spicy of a take, is it? Am I freaking Candide over here? Am I just like, you know, hopelessly naive or something? I don't know. Maybe I am. More like a salon. We should listen to everybody, but when there are policies that lead to, for example, the extermination of trans people, we need to call them out for that, even if it makes them feel uncomfortable, and makes them no longer want to come to our shows.
Same creators are constantly harassed by the same people who have harassed me and are constantly fighting to maintain their platforms in spite of that harassment. If you want to keep fighting with these people and think that you can make meaningful progress in moving the space, then you go right on ahead. I just want to make sure that you remember that you're not pigeonholed into constantly fighting with these people if you don't want to. I'm going over to TikTok to try and popularize high-quality educational content exploring academic literature that can help people further good LGBT+ policy. I mentioned earlier that I'm going to be exploring politics is for power, and the video on its first chapter is already up over there if you want to go watch it. I'm also going to be advertising my Discord as a place for people who care about public policy to talk about complicated issues in a constructive way. Do I know if that's going to work? No, but we don't need people to have all of the perfect answers right now. What we need are people who recognize the same problems, who share fundamental values of tolerance and the pursuit of truth, and who try a variety of different solutions. Because even if a lot of them don't end up working, it's only a matter of time before one of them does. Because the 2022 elections are coming up. And unless we get...
I mean, like, we just, like, you know, try out a little anarcho-communism over here, try out a little fashion... No, just kidding. I know that's not what she's trying to say, but it's like, she hasn't...
our shit together quickly. We're looking at a...
She hasn't been specific enough.
And that's it. You can find me in the links below.
You can find me in the club.
Otherwise, goodbye.
Okay, that's Riley Grace Roshong, everybody. Riley has left the building. Riley has left the building. Okay, well, I mean, that was interesting. That was certainly something, wasn't it?